Hey everybody, this is my gourami tank. I just fed everybody, and I'm hoping we can get some action of my little chocolate gourami here. I put tube effects in, and I put some crumbled up algae wafers on the bottom, so if I see the striped Raphael come out, we can get a look at that one too. I'm hoping this little chocolate gourami here moves a little more towards the center of the tank and we can get a little bit of its color on video here. It's an absolutely beautiful little fish. It doesn't have really bright colors, but it has gorgeous colors. It really is a dark, sort of rich chocolatey color, but then the markings on it are sort of tan, but they're almost sort of a golden color. It's a really, really pretty fish with very subdued colors on it. And of course, it's got gourami-like behavior, so it's a great fish. It's interesting to watch. They seem to be fairly intelligent. They're very interactive with the other fish in the tank. Now, my experience with the chocolate gourami so far has been that they are very fussy eaters. I have seen one or two little occasions where it seemed like it was eating some crumbled up flake food, but I was always sort of on the fence between whether it was actually eating it or doing that, fish thing where they put it in their mouth and spit it back out. So I've never really been confident to just put flake food in the tank and assume it's going to get its fair share, because I don't really think it eats the flake food enough. So tube effects worms seem to work. I use freeze dried. Got to soak them in water a little bit, soften them up. And then we can see here that it's going to town on them. I also put spirulina in the tank. Real little tiny little things that float in there, and it eats them. And algae wafers on the bottom, surprisingly. I don't really think of gouramis as being bottom feeders, although over the years of watching all my other gouramis feed off the algae wafers as they made their way to the bottom, it shouldn't surprise me. But what the chocolate gourami does here, it's interesting. It doesn't actually really directly peck at the algae wafers unless they're really, really tiny little pieces that have crumbled off of the main chunks. What it normally does is it hovers around other fish that are nibbling on the algae wafers, and then as the little tiny crumbles and bits, move up into the water column, the little chocolate gourami darts in and snatches up little tidbits of the crumbled algae wafer that way. So, again, just a really, really fascinating fish. I'm really happy with it. I was reluctant to get one for years and years because they really do need specialty water. They really need low mineralized water, very, very soft water. And I always suspected that I had inappropriate water, I'll say. I'll just leave it at that. I won't go into a bunch of details in this video about my water. But I always assumed that for that particular gourami that needs that very, very soft water, in the wild they can live in pHs as low as 5. So they definitely are a different type of gourami than your average run-of-the-mill, lives in a ditch on the side of the road kind of gourami. But after doing a little more research and then doing a little more research into my water, I found that my water is actually probably more suitable for this chocolate gourami than it is for a lot of the other fish I have. I have very low mineralized water, and it's pretty much been issue-free since I got it. I did get 2 of them at the same time, and one vanished within a few days of getting it, and I suspect it was my striped Raphael came out at night and made a dinner out of it. This one, while still small enough to be a snack for my Raphael, I think it probably sleeps more towards the top of the tank, and while the Raphael might cruise around, it's sort of built for feeding off the bottom, so if you sleep up near the top, you're probably safe from the striped Raphael. That's why my neon population in this tank always dwindles. I put 20 neons in here, and it lasts for a while, but slowly over the course of time, there's less and less and less neons in here, and it's because neons sleep down near the bottom, and that striped Raphael comes out at night and makes the snacks out of neons. So I still got a couple of them in there. They must be the ones that sleep a little higher in the water column. But at any rate, that's what I think happened to the other little chocolate gourami in the tank. But this one has been fine. I've never had any issues with it. It's never shown any, lethargic behavior. It's never shown any signs of illnesses. It's always actively fed, provided I gave it appropriate food. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't eat just any old thing. You got to give it food that it'll accept. But provided I give it food that it'll accept, it hasn't had any issues with it. So all in all, I'm really happy with it. I would definitely recommend them. Maybe not for your beginner fish keeper. If you've got a little more experience under your belt, if you know a little more about your water and a little more about what you're doing with maintaining, stability in your water, then this is a really cool fish. And they're small. I'm really surprised how small they are. I knew they were small, but I didn't know they were this small. I mean, they're smaller than my little honey gouramis, and the honey gouramis are actually a lot smaller than I was expecting them to be. I thought the honey gouramis were going to be almost the size of that pearl back there, and they're not. And here, this little chocolate gourami is much smaller than that. Now, I'll grant you, I've only had this chocolate gourami for a few months, so it's probably going to get bigger, but from what I can gather, it's not going to get very much bigger. They're tiny little fish. So that's about all I can think of off the top of my head. Just wanted to get a little bit of that on video. Give everybody a look at it, how it moves around the tank, swims around, does its thing. Again, if you're familiar with gourami at all, it behaves very much like a gourami. Very, very, curious fish. It pokes around the tank. It's always sort of looking into stuff and doing things. Very active fish. So there you go, everybody. We'll back up here a little bit and give you a look at the whole tank in one shot. So that's a tiny little fish in a 55-gallon tank. But that's alright with me. He's got plenty of swimming around room and lots of company. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss anything I got coming up. Don't forget, this one here is my 55-gallon gourami tank. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you real soon in the next one.